All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March Patternfly community meeting. This will probably be a pretty short one. We're going to mostly just be focusing on our latest patch release that just went out on Friday. But we'll have ample time for some Q&A if y'all have questions you'd like to ask us. So like I said, the agenda is pretty much just focused on the 5.2.1 release, which Friday is the day that it's gone out. It was not a planned thing that we were expecting to do, so we're still getting the release notes and everything up on our site. I'll have those links in the slides, which I'll send these slides out with the links on them to everyone after this meeting. But we'll have the release notes up on the site as soon as we can, with all the kind of usual stuff that we have there, including the list of versions, which you can see here. We put out everything. If you're familiar with the packages that were released from our Patternfly React repo, it's all of those and the core package, the Patternfly/Patternfly. I don't think we've had any extensions yet that have had to be re-released because of this. I've got the links here. There's also a kind of secondary mini release that went out for charts specifically, where there's one additional fix that came out in that. So everything is a .1 version other than charts, which is on .2. And the main impetus for this release was a issue that had to be resolved in core, which I'm going to hand the reins over to Michael Coker to kind of deep dive on what exactly happened there and what we did to fix it.
Okay, thanks, Austin. Okay, if I still screen share for a minute. All right.
Take it away.
Thanks. Yeah. So just, I guess, a quick TLDR, and then, of course, opportunities for questions or feedback. Over what happened, we put out some communication in various channels about the overview. So that I'll just kind of go over those points in case anyone missed that or wants to see in action. But basically, we received some reports of a feature in one of our components wasn't working. Specifically, it was clickable cards. So these cards right here, they kind of have this effect when you interact with them. You can actually still see the bug live on our org site. If you wanted to see what that looked like previously, before this patch release, you can see that as so I move my mouse over these items, nothing happens. There's no like interaction. And then there's also, kind of see this little gray line stuck over to the side of the box, where you don't see that with the cards as they are supposed to appear. It's supposed to be a big border that shows up around the entire card. So we tracked this down to a recent update in Chromium. It was great that the users that reported this also included that bit that right after upgrading to Chrome 1.2.2, they started seeing this behavior. And scoured the release notes and whatnot, didn't find anything that was specific to the exact change, but effectively reverse engineered that Chromium had improved their support for some alignment properties that previously were reserved for flex and grid items. It's align self and justify self specifically. And those properties can now be used with absolutely positioned and fixed positioned items. Previously, combining those alignment properties with absolute and fixed positioning did nothing. It was just a benign combination. And after that update, which is a great update, those combination of styles actually do something now, and they did something we didn't want to happen here in the cards because we had that combination, not intentfully. It was just the result of some overrides that we had between a few variations and different components. And since there was no effect previously. It was okay. They were just benign, but now they're doing something and it broke the styling. So we tracked that down. We pushed a fix, did a little bit of investigation, found that a lot of users were affected by it. There was a Chromium bug that had been filed, effectively when 1.2.2 was released, stating this, and someone from the Chromium team replied and outlined basically what I just said, which was that this is an improvement. We're better supporting the CSS specification. And if you look here, you can actually, this is the CSS 3, line 3 specification. These are the flex properties, flex and grid properties that previously were limited to just flex and grid layouts. Justify and align content, justify and align items, justify and align self. Specifically, what we're looking at here is these justify self and align self, and the things that they apply to are absolutely position boxes. This was the portion that was implemented. So, for example, this actually doesn't work yet, but it's in this specification, and so absolutely position boxes got some support here. And so did a little bit of investigation as maybe a best practice for how to fix this and how to implement it. We did all of this as a team and verified that the fix we put in place was good. And then we have visual regression tooling on the Patternfly core repository. It's a screenshot tool, and it takes all kinds of screenshots in all kinds of different ways, and it's got a lot of cool options. And so we use that tool to test before and after the fix, both with the previous and the current version of Chromium. So the version it worked in previously, which was 1.2.1, and 1.2.2, which is what we updated to, and made sure that, one, we could validate that the regression tooling would find this bug with the right combo of browser and styling, and then two, that it fixed the bug and that we didn't find this bug anywhere else. So if we just use Chromium 1.2.1 and run our tooling, and then 1.2.2 and run the tooling, that we're not seeing the same breakage in any other components. So so far so good with that. Pushed that fix out, validated it, and then had users pull it in and got some good feedback that things had been resolved. So that's kind of the what broke and what we did to fix it. Going forward, this is a great fire drill for all of us. And it was something that ideally we would have caught prior to users reporting this. We should have seen this coming. There should be better ways for us to be able. This kind of thing is going to happen, but I think we can keep our eyes open and put some processes in place to better catch this, so that we can find out about it and make sure that code is up to date prior to needing to react after the fact, after a browser version is updated. And so one of the visual regression tooling it's kind of new and young in the Patternfly core repo. And so this was a great opportunity to do a little bit of investigation as to how can we better leverage that tool. And just like we could test with Chromium 1.2.1 and 1.2.2, which we weren't doing previously, we were just using out of the box. It uses Puppeteer, whatever the Chromium version of Puppeteer that comes with it was what we were using. So now we're running specific versions of browsers using that tooling, and that extends the ability for us to, of course, pull in Chromium betas, validate the new features that are coming down, like, for example, align content in the next version of Chromium is going to apply to block containers. And so we know that it's effectively the same kind of change coming in the next version. So what's that going to break? And so we've already gone through and run the browser testing against Patternfly to make sure that we're in a good position for that. So that's probably going to be our main leverage, our main tool to leverage testing for this kind of thing in the future, as well as authoring practices, just making sure that we're staying plugged into the communication channels around, hey, what's coming in, Chrome so-and-so, or what are the release features of Safari so-and-so beta, that kind of thing. So yes, that's pretty much the high level overview. Were there any questions or feedback or anything anyone had? Yeah. Hey.
Hey, I feel like it's common courtesy to raise your hand, right? I just wanted to say, yeah, this is, sometimes a question comes up of like, hey, we didn't necessarily break this, like, we're scrambling to fix it, and just wanted to call out the team. It's funny, I'm going to update our internal team a little later today, but it was a one-line fix, maybe 4 words or so in a CSS file. But it was the better part of a week making sure that we understood exactly what the bug was, exactly what Chromium stance was on it, not only where it's popped up, but where else it could be lurking to find us, and also how to plan ahead, how to future-proof ourselves a bit. So while it would have been preferable if none of this had happened, I think it's a good learning opportunity. It happens to coincide with the day of learning as well. So not exactly what we had planned, but it's a good to kind of see some of these blind spots of we wouldn't expect that to happen, but now we can build out a process to just be prepared in case it does. So anyways, wanted to call out, I know the core team spent several hours basically coding through the code base on top of the automated testing just to do like a triple check. The React team came together for another couple hours working together to get everything set to get the release out the door. So in the end, hopefully, to James's comment, hopefully it was pretty smooth and seamless. I want to let the team know too, there's no, while we can prepare better next time, I don't think it's anything that we planned on breaking or that we, wrote to break. So just a big round of applause to everyone for kind of dropping what we needed to pivot and make sure that we could get customers back and unaffected. That was kind of priority one. And obviously now, like Austin said, we should update our own website. We should make sure the release notes are live. But first and foremost, let's make sure the fix is out there. People can upgrade it and we can kind of move forward. So thanks for working so hard to get that tackled and make it sound so straightforward on this call.
All right, if there's no other questions on that at the moment, I might steal the screen back from you there. Oh, actually, we did have one other core change that was part of the 5.2.1 release, and that was a fix / a bit of a feature, maybe, about adding support for status modifiers in modal titles. Cogre didn't know if you wanted to go into that any further, or if that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it pretty much sums it up. Basically, to better support the composable modal, we have a React Next modal that's currently out there for you to use, and to be able to support statuses in the modal better with that structure. The status modifier that you can apply to the modal currently, or pre this update, applied to the top level modal component. Now you can also add it to just the modal title element, which will give you effectively the same styling that we implement for the status modifier being on the parent. So pretty simple update. Yeah, I guess that covers it.
All right, thank you. And next up, talk through the few React items that we had in the 5.2.1 release. The first was actually a reversion of a bug fix that we'd previously put in for ClipboardCopy. Shout out to James for reporting that to us and making us aware that that fix was actually causing new problems. So we reverted that, and we've got a new issue in the pipeline for coming up with another fix to that original problem that doesn't have these other issues associated with it. We also had some type changes that landed in charts. I think these are actually pretty darn extensive, and they were, from what I understand, required because of changes to the types that Victory uses. I think that everything should be good there now. Make sure that you're picking up that 7.2.2 release of charts and not 7.2.1 that I mentioned about earlier. And the last change that came through in React was that the code editor, Katie did, I think, most of the work on that, and she isn't here to comment on it in depth. But my understanding of that is that there were options that are available on Monaco that before this release you didn't have access to, and now you can pass those props through to be able to better tune Monaco. And that, I think, pretty much covers all of the React changes that were in that release. I don't know if anyone would like to add any color to that. All right. That is pretty much everything that we needed to cover in the release. If anyone has any questions, definitely let them fly. We've still got plenty of time left. Andrew.
Yeah, not a question, but just a general update, I guess. With the patch release that came out last week, we were also simultaneously trying to get our alpha release of V6 out the door. Obviously, the patch was certainly top priority as it was impacting a lot of products today. So we opted to push out the alpha in favor because of the whole involvement of all the team that had to kind of swarm on that, and the actual process of doing the release and getting it onto our site and everything. So alpha was pushed out. So anyone who's following along on the V6 journey, the alpha is a little bit back, but obviously for a very good reason. So I think the next time we meet, we'll have more of a V6 demo to share with everybody. But I just want to give that little update. We are still very focused on doing that, and the overall V6 timeline, we are making some adjustments on that as well. I think we had put a line in the sand for in the summer, but there's been a lot of priority changes, certainly resource and team changes, and people going different places and more involvement from different groups. So the timeline, we had some things that were noted as a priority that have since changed. So we're in the process of making updates. And again, I'll share more feedback or changes on that when we have more info. But just wanted to kind of call those things out, that they're still coming, things are still changing, but we're hoping to share a more detailed plan as we have more updates.
Thank you for that update about those V6 things, Andrew. Does anyone have any other questions, comments? All right, I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.